Hello guys, welcome to a new video. In this video I'm going to talk about the differences between the movie Silent Hill Revelations and the game that it took its inspiration from, Silent Hill 3. Most of the fans liked the first movie, but the second one not so much. I confess that I really didn't want to see this movie again. Not everything that is different is bad. The first movie also had different things and fans didn't seem bothered by that, but that didn't work in the second movie. The story of this movie tries to follow the story of the first movie, but also the story of the game, which makes things more complicated. So I'm going just to talk about the differences for each of the characters. Let's start with Detective Douglas. I hope I'm saying his name right. I personally hated what they did to his character. Well, to all characters actually. In the movie, he appears simply as a creepy guy chasing Heather and tries to talk to her, until he finally manages to do it and tells her that he was hired by the cult to find her, and then he knew a lot of personal information about her and that her father was lying to her. Even if he was an amazing detective, there were a lot of things that it didn't make sense for him to know. Since he was saying too much, he was killed by a monster of the cult, but you don't even see him die. They did exactly the same with another random character that only appeared for a few minutes in the movie. This is what I call laziness. So yeah, he dies fast, and if you remove him from the plot, it wouldn't make a difference. In the game, he was just hired to find Heather. He didn't know the whole story like in the movie. His goal was just to take her to Claudia so they could talk. He later takes her to Silent Hill in his car because he felt responsible for all the bad things that were happening to Heather, including her father's death. She tells him the whole story about her, Harry, and the cult. So already in Silent Hill, the two start to search for more answers. The detective finds Claudia and gets mad at her because she had told him that Heather was kidnapped from her. But that doesn't end very well for him, because when Heather finds him later, he seems to be hurt. He thinks about killing Heather as a solution to stop the cult plans, but he isn't a bad person and quickly gives up. In the end, the detective may die or not, depending on the ending you get. The canon ending is the one he survives. If you are curious about the bad ending, he is killed by an evil, possessed Heather. He is Heather's father. In the movie we see some scenes between him and Heather and what they are doing so they don't get caught by the cult. Actually, Heather thinks it's because her father killed a man that attacked them in their house, but she didn't know that he was a member of the cult. Another thing is that Harry is his cover-up name. His original name is Christopher, if I'm not wrong. While Heather is out, her father is kidnapped and taken to Silent Hill to make her go after him, because she had to go back to Silent Hill by her own free will. So she gets to Silent Hill to save him. In the end, he is saved and decides to look for her missing wife that was trapped in Silent Hill. She was the protagonist of the first movie. In the game, we just see Heather talking with him on a public phone. Then when she finally manages to go home, she finds Harry dead. He was killed by Claudia as an act of revenge for ruining their plans in the first game, since he was the protagonist. Claudia also stated that it was to fill Heather's heart with hatred, because that was also necessary. So basically, Heather goes to Silent Hill to get revenge from her father's death, He also leaves documents that tell the whole story to Heather, since she didn't know. Her objective in the movie and video game are the same: to use Heather to birth a new god. I just don't understand how she is able to turn into a monster and kill people and appear in Heather's dream in the movie. She was the monster that killed the detective. She orders some people to kidnap Heather's father. In the end, she turned into a monster by touching the seals of Metatron, which makes no sense. She straight away tries to kill Heather, which also doesn't make sense since she needs her. Then she fights with Pyramid Head and dies with her head cut off. In the game, she kills Harry and Vincent and also hurts the detective. In the end, Claudia swallows a fetus that Heather vomited, so the god could still be born. The scene was disgusting. She is then sacrificed by a mysterious monster. In terms of personality, she is way more complex than the one in the movie. She really believes in the goddess, and she will do everything to bring her to the world. She even tries sometimes to convince Heather and hates Vincent for being a traitor. It's also interesting how she most of the time talks calmly and seems to genuinely regret the evil things she had to do and knows she won't have salvation because of that. In her head, all of that was for the greater good and not for personal reasons. Like his daughter Claudia, his main objective didn't change much in the movie, but they didn't show the weird calls between him and Heather, where you can see that he is also not very sane and seems to have two different personalities. Why the hell didn't they use the awesome scene about her birthday in the movie? It's awesome. In the game, you never know if he was a friend or a foe, and when you encounter him, you don't see his original form. He was already a monster. And Heather realizes that he is crazy just like his daughter Claudia, that he hates. In the movie, he is a blind man that didn't transform into a monster when he touched the seal, like his daughter. He only transformed when Heather shoots him. Also makes no sense. Leonard turns into a foe because when he touches the seal, he sees Heather as a demon. In the game, you kill him with bullets and the seal is just in the floor. That's normal in video games. But in the movie, it has two seals instead of just one, like in the game. He already had one inside his body and took the other one from Heather and joined them. Heather defeats him by removing them from his body and he just kind of vanishes instead of getting back to his normal body. This character in the film, if it wasn't for his name, I wouldn't recognize him because they completely changed the profile of this character. Vincent went through the most radical changes. In this movie, he is Claudia's son, and his initial mission was to convince Heather to go to Silent Hill. So he went to the same school as her and tried to go on a date, but it didn't work. I noticed that he always appears when she needed help. First in the school scene, after the detective dies, and when she starts screaming for her father at home. Not really suspicious, huh? But continue the story, he realizes that she's not evil and ends up falling in love with her. Because in these movies they always need some kind of love story, even if it sucks. To make things even worse, they are cousins. So instead of teaming up with the detective that was already dead, she does that with Vincent, and he is the one who drives her to Silent Hill. But then he says that she shouldn't go look for her dad. So why did you take her there, you moron? Anyway, Vincent gets kidnapped and because now he's a traitor, his mom doesn't kill him but sends him to the asylum to be cured from the brainwash that supposedly Heather gave him. He is saved by Heather, but not long after that, he makes himself a bait for no reason. Well, he just does that to seem like a hero and has an opportunity to kiss her. But this didn't help Heather. There were still guys there that went after her anyway. In the final confrontation with Claudia, Vincent is there as a prisoner along with Heather's father. He is also saved and gets out of Silent Hill with her, so he is a generic character that doesn't do much. Vincent in the game is also a more complex character. You also don't know if he is a friend or an enemy. He's weird and also a bit crazy, but not as much as Claudia and her father. Oh, and he is not Claudia's son and doesn't fall in love with Heather. That's important. Vincent says in one part that it was his money and power that helped to build that church, and also that he adores but fears also the goddess. So he was just another member of the cult, and an important one. He does indeed help Heather with information because he doesn't like Claudia and her ways. Vincent likes how things are now and doesn't want any changes. He is the one that talks about the seal, but sometimes he likes to mess up with Heather for fun, and that makes us confused. But I don't think Vincent is evil, because there is a part where he states that he didn't like to see Claudia suffering at the hands of her father. In the end, he dies in a stupid way because he underestimates Claudia. That kills him. I already told most of her story through the other characters, so I'm just gonna talk about a few things. In the movie, her other part, Alessa, sent her messages saying to stay away from Silent Hill. In the game, Claudia just wants Heather to give birth to the gods, but in the movie it's that reason and also the fact that to escape the nightmare they need to kill her, and to do that they need to join her with Alessa. There is a part where both meet, and instead of fighting or having some meaningful conversation, they hug each other, trying to absorb one another. It's a dumb scene and they try to make it epic with music. For some stupid reason, it's Heather that absorbs Alessa. I also forgot to say how Alessa's makeup looked horrible. She was supposed to be scary like in the game, but oh well. Then in the final confrontation with Claudia, Heather just gives her the seal and then hides while her guardian does the job. And finally she gets out with her father and cousin. I mean boyfriend. I can't compare this character to the one in the games because it is in the wrong movie. Pyramid Head is a character from Silent Hill 2 and doesn't make any sense to be in both movies. But at least in the first one, he was still creepy, while in this movie, he is like a good guy that saves everyone. They didn't even try to make his connection with Heather interesting. He was just her guardian and nothing more, no explanations on why. Also, his design is not the original, but the one from Silent Hill Homecoming, where he shouldn't be there also. I don't know if this movie came after or before, but I think it came after. But I think it's the same also as the first movie, so I don't know who invented this new design of Pyramid Head, which is not... doesn't have like a big difference. His fight against Monster Claudia was so awful that it hurt my eyes. And now, talking about the nurses that always have to appear, the moaning in this movie was a bit too much to me. I found it annoying and exaggerated. I didn't remember feeling like this with the first movie, so I went to watch their scene. I thought that the sounds there made more sense. So in the end, I feel like it's just an extreme measure to make people like this movie, but it's not enough. Oh yeah, there is also Dahlia, Heather's mother. She appears just for a bit to give some information about the plot to Heather. Her appearance in this movie is unnecessary, and she doesn't even appear in Silent Hill 3 because she died in the first game. So in a brief way, that's the differences between characters in the game and the movie. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe for more videos. And tell me in the comments if you liked this movie or not, and if you also liked the first one. Like, what is your opinion about the movies, basically. So, until next time, bye bye!